Is Post Scriptum dead? It's a question I see a lot these days, and when I saw the player numbers for the game, I was, frankly, shocked. Because I've lost count of how many subscribers have said, if you like Hell Let Loose, you need to play Post Scriptum. It's such a great game, etc., etc. But if it's such a great game, why are the player numbers on life support? How does it compare to my beloved Hell Let Loose? And does it even have a future now? I decided to give Post Scriptum a try to find out if there's life in the old girl yet. First, let's put all of this into perspective by taking a look at the game's origins, so we can better understand its current situation. Post Scriptum actually started out as a mod for our favourite tactical shooter, Squad. With the support of Squad's creator, Offworld Industries, the creators of Post Scriptum, Periscope Games, went from a team of modders to game developers in their own right, and released Post Scriptum as a standalone game in August 2018. An awesome achievement, and the dream of many modders, I'm sure. Many thousands of players played the game when it released, followed by a predictable drop-off. The average numbers stabilised around a respectable 1,000 or so post-launch, with the occasional free weekend providing a spike in player numbers. Since then, the game has received updates in the form of chapters that brought new maps, features, and improvements to the game. The most recent chapter was number 4 and, well, just go take a look at the comments to the announcement to give yourself a flavour of how the Post Scriptum community felt about it. Not great. Regardless, it's plain to see the community was resilient for several years, and the game had many opportunities to retain or increase player numbers. But, ultimately, the game has struggled to average 400 players for some time now. The Armour update in November 21 saw a decent increase in players, but too little, too late, it would seem. Looking at the history, and where we've ended up, the oversimplified implication is that Post Scriptum is a below-average World War II experience, compared to, say, Hell Let Loose, which has thousands of players. So is Post Scriptum simply an inferior World War II shooter experience, which would explain the decline in player numbers? To answer that, let's compare Post Scriptum to the comparatively successful Hell Let Loose to see if that's where our answer lies. When playing Post Scriptum, the first thing that will strike you is the sound design. The sounds are so realistic and satisfying, you'll find yourself reloading your rifle just so you can hear that satisfying clunk. And gunshots are generally louder and meatier than in Hell Let Loose. It's more difficult to steady your aim. Your stamina is limited, needing water or a cup of tea to recharge. Post Scriptum actually has a tutorial, and even British and French factions, while having similar squad-based communication and vehicle combat to Hell Let Loose. So there's a lot for any World War II tactical shooter fan to enjoy. I still prefer Hell Let Loose, but I found the gameplay experience to be very similar in Post Scriptum. It's a cracking game in its own right, and with certain features some players would even prefer. It's different, yes, but inferior? No. At least not to the extent that Hell Let Loose is averaging about 7,000 players, while Post Scriptum can barely muster 400. However, I should point out that even with those numbers, I actually found it very easy to jump into a full server and enjoy a decent game on a regular basis. So if the game provides a solid World War II experience, where did it go wrong for Post Scriptum? Over the years, since release, the updates kept coming, but bugs and overall performance have become increasingly noticeable issues. You don't have to look far to see these are increasingly common complaints among the player base each time an update is released. It's easy for us to say, focus on quality of life and performance updates instead of producing new content. But most of us aren't game developers, and we must remember the team is, or was, very small, and there are only so many hours in the day. But what we can say is that whether it's quality of life, performance, or new content, the player base clearly felt the mix, the balance between those elements was an issue. The Armour update in 2021 is a good example. The feedback generally was that, although welcome, an Armour update only affected a certain percentage of players, and since then, the feedback on subsequent updates became worse rather than better. Even if you thought the updates were great, with so few players left, even a handful of unhappy players makes a difference. It also won't help that the game's rating on Steam has slipped down to mixed. Whatever the cause, that's a slippery slope to climb back up. Ultimately, I don't want this to be a negative video because I really enjoy the game, and you can still log in and have a great time. So let's take a look at the future and what it might hold for Post Scriptum. In theory, there should be new content on the horizon and a free weekend in early January 2023. However, the rumour mill is working overtime right now. This could be completely false, and usually I wouldn't indulge in rumours, but if this one is true, it will have a significant impact on the future of the game. The rumour? All of the development team for Post Scriptum have been sacked. Yeah, pretty big news if that's true. So if you're considering purchasing Post Scriptum, it may be worth holding off until we have a clearer idea of what's actually happening here. But even if the dev teams have all been fired, the servers will still be there. We just won't receive any new updates, unless a new dev team are put in place, but we'll just have to see. Perhaps the game will be going back to its modding roots. It's had a good run after all, and even now, new mods are being made. I noticed one called Squidbots, which will introduce bots to help kickstart servers. And let's be honest, that's exactly what this game needs. So is Post Scriptum dead? No. As long as players are still playing the game, it isn't dead. The future is uncertain, but something I do know is this. Post Scriptum still has a lot of love to give. And if you enjoy World War II shooters, you owe it to yourself to give the game a try, as you'll appreciate the look and feel of the weapons, the tactical gameplay, and awesome sound design. Even with the painfully low player numbers, there are still active servers where you can enjoy a full game. If there's a solid update on the developers, I'll pin a comment below to keep you up to date. But without a new development team, perhaps the modding community will keep the game alive. After all, it wouldn't be the first time modders have come to save the day. Please let me know your thoughts on the state of Post Scriptum. If you found this video interesting, please leave us a like and check out my other World War II and strategy content when you have time. See ya!